All right. So, let's start a little bit with the journey. When did
Yeah,
you start singing and writing?
I have been singing and writing since I was, oh geez. Like when I was, honestly, as long as I can remember. Like when I was really young, I used to write poems, and I
Okay.
didn't really know that they were songs yet. You know what I mean? Because I didn't really know. And then when I was about 14 or 15, can't remember, but one of those, my brother taught me how to play guitar, and then that's when I actually started to be able to put instrumentation to what I thought were poems, and then later realized they were songs because they always had a tune as well. Like it's not like I would just speak them. So
Right.
um, about 14 or 15 is when I actually got to start writing stuff with guitar and vocals. But I had been writing just like, random stuff before that.
Okay. So I've read that you felt that you were close to the end of the musical journey,
Yes.
going into this EP. So where were you physically, mentally? What was the situation around that?
So I had been living in this just shitty apartment. My band, like I had a band a long time ago, and that had broken up. And at the time, like I was young. I think I was like 22 or 23 when that broke up, maybe.
Okay.
But I was so invested in it, and I was just so sure that that was going to be my career and that that was my forever and that this was it. And so when that broke up, I was kind of left a little bit in shock of just like, oh shit, well, I guess I need to start over. So I started to do solo stuff, and I started to play around Kitchener, Waterloo, like where I'm from, just
Okay.
local gigs. But then, that doesn't pay the rent. So I also had three part-time jobs. Um, I was serving at a rest like a brewery. I was bartending at a concert venue, and I was also doing reception at a spa. So, and then trying to play like two or three times a week. And so it really, like the grind really got to me. I felt like I was on this hamster wheel, and it just kept going. And so, um, yeah, I kind of thought, okay, well, maybe this is time to get a quote unquote real job. At the time, that's what I thought, and I even went back to a career counselor at a local college to see, okay, is there anything else I want to do? Like, kind of exploring the option. And then it wasn't until after I left that appointment, I left kind of defeated because I was like, you know what? I don't want to do anything else. You know what I mean? Like I've just sat here, wasted this poor woman's time for like an hour, knowing that I'm not going to be happy doing anything else. So it was that kind of like definitive of like, okay, so this isn't working, but I don't want to do anything else. So now I just have to figure out how this is going to work, kind of thing.
Right.
And then it's weird. Like once that mindset was there, I met my manager. Um, not long after. So it was like very serendipitous. I'd say.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about, you've got all of these songs written. Tell me a little bit about the process of writing them. Where did they come from?
All of my songs really stem from personal experience. Um, like when I write a song, I'm usually working something out. So it's like, you know, I sit down and I try to only write when I feel inspired, and that could be anything. Like literally just walking in the door and I feel like, oh, I have an idea, and I sit down and do something with it because it's coming from a real place that way. And so it just happens that most of the stuff I write about is just things that I've experienced, or things that I'm trying to tell myself, things that I would like to be my experiences, like, lessons I'm trying to teach myself, or like advice I'm trying to give myself and I don't listen to it. but but yeah, it's basically, just a way that I see the world, and you know, the shit that goes on in my head.
Okay. So you've had the opportunity recently to hit the road with some rather big names. Have
Yeah.
have any of these artists like imparted any knowledge that sticks with you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you can learn something from everybody you tour with. Um, they taught me, you know, I would watch every night. and just kind of watch their stage presence, how they interact with the crowd, what works for them, what doesn't. And that doesn't necessarily mean it'll work or not work for me, but it was just interesting to observe and kind of learn that way, and just kind of like take it all in and see it for what it is as a learning experience, as well as like obviously enjoying the show. Um, but yeah, I feel like if you walk away from a tour and you haven't learned anything, then that's not a good thing, because there's always like little things that creep in when you don't even know that you're learning something, and you're just like, okay, I get it.
All right. So any of them pull you to the side after your set and say, "Hey, you know what? Why don't you give this a shot? You know, try this technique or anything like that?"
No, no one's ever really pulled me aside to give me advice on the live show. Um, More in the sense of like, you see a good show um, from one of your peers and you say like, oh yeah, good, nice set tonight or something like that. But no, nobody's ever really gone that far to try and critique. Not that I wouldn't be open to it, but hasn't happened yet, except my manager, obviously.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's what they're there for, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
All right. So with this new EP, what's your favorite track on it?
Ooh, that's a tough. That's like asking what child do you love the most.
Yep. Yep. It sure is. It sure is.
That's terrible. You know what? I don't know. I think the diplomatic thing to say would be I love them all for different reasons. But it honestly depends what mood I'm in. Um, when I first recorded it, State of Mind was my favorite.
Okay.
Um, and uh, then Gave It All, really, like Gave It All is a really old song of mine. I wrote that when I was like 20 maybe, but I just kept it with me. So that one's a favorite because it's sentimental and it's been through, a lot of years.
Okay.
But right now I'm feeling the rush, so I don't know. It kind of goes by mood, which that's how I listen to music anyway. So
All right. So now that you've got this fire going and everything is taking off, do you still have those three jobs?
no, no, I don't. No, I'm actually very happy to say I'm just doing music full time. It does take a lot of time, but I wouldn't be opposed to doing a bartending gig every now and then, because I just love doing it. I think it's really fun, especially at a music venue. It's like, it's a pretty fun job. But no, I'm spending my days writing and just trying to, writing, rehearsing. There's a lot of behind the scenes things that goes into it. But yeah,
All right.
got away
So,
from the bar.
well, you never know. That could be a great charity fundraiser, auctioning off a night of you bartending.
Hey, there we go. I'll sing you a song and I'll make you a drink.
There you go. There you go. So, a couple of things that I like to ask. What do you do to relax?
What do I do to relax? Well, I'm really into nature. So I'm a big hiker. I like, biking. Anything outdoors is a big thing for me. Whether it's just like even not having music, just going for a bike ride at night, especially, I love. Um, and driving. If I need to think, I go for a long drive and I just kind of like roll the windows down, put on music, and I go out to the country and I just go. Um, and I take a lot of baths. I take I take a lot of eucalyptus baths. It's good for your voice. Very
All right.
relaxing.
All
Yeah.
right. So, the whole driving with music brings up the next question.
Yeah.
Other than yourself, who are you listening to? Who's in your playlist?
It is ever changing. It is constantly changing. Mostly to do with moods, always. But I've been I can't stop listening to the last album that Mac Miller put out.
Okay.
Um, it was called Swimming, and it's an old album. Like it's not like it's a up and coming new thing, but I just haven't been able to stop listening to it. It's the weirdest thing. Like on repeat. Um, but let me think of some other favorites. I mean, Lumineers. I'm a big folk fan as well. Lumineers
Okay.
is always on my playlists. Um, and I've also been tuning into country radio. It's like a guilty pleasure of mine, but like when it's nice out, sometimes it's just like a nice kind of relaxing, don't have to think too much, listen. But then also, do you know CBC? It's like the local station here has a night stream, and I think
Okay.
actually I think it's on everything online and everything like that. But after 8 o'clock, CBC has this playlist called Night Stream, and it goes from 8 p.m. to midnight, and
Okay.
it's all Canadian acts. Well, they feature a lot of Canadian acts, and it's really good. It's really interesting. Kind of a little bit of everything. Like there's like experimental jazz in there. There's like this like weird dark pop. There's folk. There's rock. It's like curated for nighttime, and so it's like kind of spooky. I don't know. I've been really into it lately.
So something like that. Do you draw inspiration from it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I find it's fun. Maybe it's the fall. I don't know, but I've been just trying to find new artists. So that's why I'm
Okay.
listening to these kind of like curated playlists and radio shows that kind of touch base on everything. Um, like they do one that's called Tempo, and that's just a straight classical channel throughout the day. And I've been listening to a lot of that, just like I don't know, you can draw inspiration from every genre, right? And
Right.
especially when I'm trying to think of, if I start getting sick of what I'm writing, I'm like, this is starting to sound the same. Like I need some I want to change up how I'm doing my melodies, or like, you know what I mean?
Right.
I'll look to different genres like jazz or classical where it's all really complex, and I just kind of zone out and listen, and then in a couple days I'll write a song, and it might be influenced by it, it might not, but it definitely puts my mind into the creative kind of feeling.
Well, that's one of the good things about being in that alternative genre. There's
Yeah,
no definite pattern of what you have to play.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's funny because I listen to everything, and it just comes out in this rock kind of thing, and I really love that. um I wouldn't say it's intentional, it's just kind of what comes out. It's like but
All right.
yeah, what about you? What do you listen to get inspired?
Oh man, my inspiration actually comes from I'm pretty much a 90s well, 90s rock, 90s metal. I've noticed
Okay, right
myself
on.
lately it's more falling into the punk influence. Been listening to a lot of
Cool,
Interrupters, a lot of Rancid. So,
cool.
it's different than the alternative genre. There's a lot of alternative that's grabbing my attention lately, but
Yeah,
metalhead and punk. So,
yeah, right on. That's a solid way to go.
so you're playing the Leopard Lounge at the Town Ballroom on October 12th.
Yes.
For people of Buffalo who have not had the chance to see you live, what can
Yeah.
they what can they expect?
Um, Sorry, I just had to decline a call there. Um, for my show, it's going to be, um, let me think. What can they expect? It's high energy. I kind
Okay.
of leave it all on the stage type thing. Um, they can expect a lot of sweat, and yeah, I don't know, just a good time. I mean, I one of my favorite things about being a musician is the performing aspect, and there's no better feeling than when the crowd's into it, and that kind of I feed off that energy, and so it ends up being this kind of really high energy, crazy thing. And yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way.
All right. Is there anything else that you'd want the people of Buffalo and Western New York to know before the show that I may not have touched on?
I don't know, just not really, just to come with an open mind, and I hope they want to have fun because that's what I want to do. I'm just there to have a good time and play music for everybody, and yeah, it's just as easy as it is.
All right. Well, I appreciate you taking a few minutes and talking to me today.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. Thank you for having me.